My wife's betrayal triggered the prenup clause. I documented everything, activated the legal trap, and took back control of my life forever again. She was still zipping up her boots when she dropped it. "I'm going on a date with Brian," Carol said, her voice syrupy sweet, like she was talking to a toddler, not her husband of 28 years. "Don't wait up." Her reflection in the microwave door was clearer than I expected. Lipstick, just a shade too bold for a girl's night. The necklace I hadn't seen in years. That green top she only wore when she wanted someone to notice her collarbones. And the heels. Those damn heels clicking against the hardwood like a countdown. She hadn't worn them since our anniversary dinner 4 years ago. The one where she scrolled through her phone between courses and said the restaurant gave her divorced woman vibes. I didn't say a word at first. I just kept rinsing the plates, warm water numbing my fingers while something sharper stirred inside me. I'd cooked that dinner, salmon with that stupid lemon glaze she always pretended to like, and she hadn't even sat long enough to finish it. Now here she was, walking past like a runway model in a courtroom she thought she owned. That's when I dried my hands, slow, deliberate. I turned off the faucet, grabbed the dish towel and set it. Not loud, not bitter, just a flat final note. I won't. And by the time you're back, things will be different. She actually stumbled. One heel caught the edge of the rug, and for a split second her balance faltered. Then that smirk returned. "You always say weird things when you're upset," she muttered. But she paused. She paused. That was all I needed. Because the truth is, I wasn't upset. Not in the way she expected. Not the crying on the couch, flipping through old photo albums kind of upset. I was done. Done with the gaslighting, the guilt-tripping, the "you're overthinking it" routine. Done with every strange receipt, every bathroom door that clicked shut while she took a work call at 11:30 at night. Done with the constant emotional strip mining she called a marriage. Carol left at 6:12 p.m. I watched her taillights disappear down the street while I sipped what was left of my lukewarm coffee. There were lipstick marks on the rim of her glass on the counter. I didn't move it. Instead, I walked to the office, my office, not the shared one she liked to dump her yoga mats in, and powered on the dusty ThinkPad she always called my old man box. She had no idea what was inside it. Old man box, sure. Also a fortress. I entered the 20-character password she never bothered to learn. A flicker of code, and there it was, the archive. Emails, statements, sync data from her long-abandoned iPad, tax folders she thought I never noticed. I clicked open the spreadsheet labeled cabin expenses and smiled. She never did ask why I wanted to keep the crappy Vermont property. She didn't notice that I'd refinanced it under a newly formed trust in 2021. She thought it was sentimental. She thought I was dumb. At 6:27, I sent one message to Victor L. Kennedy, my lawyer, the only person who still mailed holiday cards and billed by the minute. Subject line, time to activate the clause. I shut the laptop slowly. No rush. Everything was already in motion. The funny thing about logistics is that it teaches you no disaster is truly sudden. You just weren't looking at the right schedule. The door didn't slam. That was almost the worst part. She just closed it like she was stepping out for groceries. No glance back. No "I'll call you if it gets late." Just the soft click of the latch and a whiff of her Chanel No. 5 hanging in the air like cheap cologne at a crime scene. She didn't take a coat, but she took her phone charger, her little black clutch, and the keys to the Lexus I still paid insurance on. One last touch of her fingers trailing the banister, like she was marking territory or saying goodbye to a hotel room. She didn't say it, of course. Goodbye. Carol was above goodbyes, too busy winning, too busy marching off into the night with her eyeliner wings and that smug little bounce in her step like she'd just unlocked a new level of independence. She was 58 going on 22. I waited 15 minutes, long enough to make sure the garage door didn't suddenly rise again, that she wasn't coming back for a scarf, or to deliver one final barb about how I used to be charming before I got so predictable. When I was sure she was gone, I stood, walked to the study, opened the old metal filing cabinet she always said smelled like the 90s, and reached behind the drawer labeled car payments. I pulled out the unmarked flash drive wrapped in a single rubber band, like it wasn't holding 2 years' worth of quiet fury. Back at the ThinkPad, the one she laughed at, the one I kept precisely because she laughed at it, I inserted the drive and clicked Upload Archive. No music, no flashy loading bar, just line after line of green progress, like a heartbeat monitor slowly coming back to life. Thousands of emails, backups from our shared cloud, screenshots from her messages I'd intercepted when she forgot her tablet was still synced to our home network, travel confirmations, hotel reservations. That one Uber ride she said was a glitch, it wasn't. 7,283 items, every single one time-stamped, geotagged, and perfectly legal. When it was done, I opened my email and composed a new message. Recipient, Victor@KennedyLawGroup.com. Last contact, August 2017. Subject, premarital security clause pending activation. That clause had been her idea. She thought it made her look clever. Let's just put in a little mutual protection so we don't hurt each other if things ever go south, she'd said over Riesling back when she still curled her legs under herself on the couch and wore my sweatshirts like armor. I never expected to use it, but I never deleted the draft either. I typed, Victor, please initiate proceedings under the standing clause. All documentation is prepared. Details attached. Timing is urgent but discreet. Then I attached the drive contents in a compressed file labeled Severance 1. Hit send, closed the laptop, took a breath. There were no fireworks, no dramatic music, just the hum of the fridge and the sound of my pulse finally slowing down. Outside, a car passed. Not hers, not yet. Let her post her filtered selfies. Let her wear Brian's jacket and sip overpriced cocktails while pretending this was her second spring. By the time she came back, the house she walked into wouldn't be the one she left, and she wouldn't be the woman who owned it. The tablet was in the guest room drawer, buried under old takeout menus and 2 broken remotes. Carol had tossed it there a year ago after upgrading to something newer, sleeker, more expensive. I remember her laughing as she slid it into the junk pile. You should keep this relic. Matches your vibe. She thought it was wiped. She thought a factory reset, and a snide remark made her smarter. She didn't know I was the one who originally set it up, that it was linked to our shared cloud, that when she stopped syncing it, I didn't. I powered it on. The screen, cracked at the corner, still smudged with traces of her foundation, took a few seconds. She'd used it mostly for work emails and Netflix, but she'd also forgotten it was still linked to her secondary messaging account. The one she claimed was for book club gossip. Password, our old dog's name, spelled wrong, typical. The messages loaded like a slow bleed. Dozens of threads, most harmless, boring even. But one name sat at the top, bolded, Brian B. her ex. The one who reached out after his divorce and just wanted closure. Funny how closure always seems to involve dim lighting, overpriced whiskey, and wearing a push-up bra to dinner. I tapped the thread. Their chats were clawing, faux teenage, over-punctuated nonsense, the kind you expect from high schoolers, not people who order cholesterol medication online. Endless miss you already and LOL you're so bad. Dozens of selfies from her, filtered, angled, always with a wine glass in hand. Captions like sneaky break and a face blowing a kiss. Guess where I am again? Winking face, attached to photos I recognized all too well. Then I saw it, a video, no caption, just 13 seconds. I tapped it. It opened to a bathroom stall. Dim marble tiles, the kind of place they pretend is classy so you forget how much you're overpaying. The angle was shaky. Her face filled the frame. She was whispering, holding the phone low. He's so pathetic lately, she said, voice dripping with that smile she used to save for flirting with waiters. This almost feels like mercy. Then she winked. Winked. The screen went dark. I didn't blink. I just stared at my reflection in the black screen until the tablet dimmed again. I didn't feel the sting right away. It was slower, like frostbite, not the words. I'd heard worse from her. Hell, I'd imagined worse. It was the delivery, that cold, rehearsed performance, like she'd practiced it. This wasn't an affair. It was a campaign. I exhaled through my nose, calm, flat, then rewatched the clip twice. Paused it on the wink, screen captured it, opened my folder labeled Incidental, created a new subfolder titled Mercy Play, downloaded the clip, stored it under 4 layers of encryption with a digital signature timestamp, and backed it up to a secure drive. That wink was going to follow her longer than her perfume. When I closed the tablet, I didn't throw it, didn't scream. I just slid it back into the drawer under the dead remotes. Let her think it was still junk. Pain at its worst doesn't erupt. It cools, and then it calculates. The cabin in Vermont was never just a cabin. Not to me. Carol always called it that moldy shoebox, and rolled her eyes anytime I mentioned repairs. She didn't come up with me after 2019. Too remote, no service, nothing up there but trees and your crusty hobbies, she once said, flipping through a Pottery Barn catalog while I packed the truck. She never asked why I kept going back, why I kept upgrading it. Solar panels, a wood-burning stove from Norway, and the final touch, fiber internet routed under a commercial listing because that's what it technically was now. A private LLC-owned property filed under Cardinal Trace Holdings, registered in Delaware. Carol thought I was escaping. What I was doing was securing. So that morning, while she was God knows where, probably ordering mimosas and playing therapist to Brian's midlife crisis, I walked into the bank branch in khakis and a flannel, looking every bit the retired guy with harmless investments. The branch manager, a man half my age with a face like a melted thumb drive, greeted me with the bland enthusiasm they reserve for customers over 60. "Mr. Wexler, here for your appointment?" I nodded and handed him a manila folder with the updated trust paperwork, notarized and dated, pre-signed with contingencies I'd drafted 3 years ago after the first girls' trip that didn't quite align with her GPS history. Inside was the directive to transfer ownership of the Vermont property from our joint marital trust into the new protective trust over which I had sole beneficiary rights. "Is this in response to any ongoing matter?" he asked, a little too gently. I smiled like I hadn't heard him. He processed the paperwork. Carol had no idea that the land surrounding the cabin had been rezoned last year. What was once a cute off-the-grid escape was now considered potential development land for a luxury ski resort. The value had tripled. The shoebox was now worth more than our primary residence. I checked the balance again and smiled. Next, I walked across the marble-tiled floor to the personal banking window and asked to review our joint cards. There were 4, one for groceries, one for travel, 2 emergency backups she claimed she barely touched. I requested full itemized printouts. The travel card had charges from places she said she hadn't visited since college. Spa bookings under another name. A boutique hotel in Chicago billed during a week I distinctly remember her working late. The clerk raised an eyebrow. "Would you like to report any of this as suspicious activity?" I leaned in slightly. "Yes, but not stolen. Just unauthorized by the account's other holder." He nodded. "We'll freeze those and notify any linked accounts." I handed over one of the cards. "Cancel this one. Today." Carol wouldn't notice right away. She rarely checked alerts. Too many emails, too many auto payments. But eventually something would bounce. Maybe her gym membership or maybe the dinner with Brian would end with her card declining at the table. Either way, it would start the unraveling. I walked out of the bank as quietly as I'd entered. No drama, no red flags. Carol liked to think she ran the emotional show. What she never understood was that I ran the books. The FaceTime rang just as I was sorting through the storage boxes in the garage. The ones Carol kept labeled seasonal, as if we were a family that still threw holiday parties instead of excuses. Natalie's name popped up. I hesitated. She rarely called, usually sent texts filled with emojis and question marks. But she was the only one from Carol's side who ever remembered my birthday, and she was smart, not smart like her mother, who measured intelligence in brand names, but smart enough to keep her head down during Thanksgiving when the sniping started. I answered. Her face filled the screen upside down at first, then corrected. Blonde roots grown out. Sweatshirt from a college she hadn't quite finished. Eyes wide. Nervous. "Uncle Steve. Hey, sorry, are you busy?" "Only with spiders and nostalgia," I said, dusting off an old tote labeled "Do Not Touch" to Xmas 2014, which I had never touched until today. She gave a half smile, then leaned close to the screen. So Aunt Carol posted something weird." She turned her phone to show me a screenshot, Carol's Instagram story, a sunset from the deck of a rooftop bar. Caption, "Finally breathing again." Underneath, a comment from Brian B. "We made it out." Natalie's voice lowered. "What does that mean? I thought you guys were, like..." Fine. I didn't react. Just stared at the image like it was a stock photo in a dentist's waiting room. That was posted what, an hour ago? Yeah, maybe less. But she deleted it already. Of course she did. That was Carol's tell. Drop the grenade, then hide the pin. "Thanks, Natalie. You did good calling me." She looked unsure. "Is something happening?" I could have told her everything. The betrayal, the mockery, the tablet, the claws. I could have told her what Carol whispered in that video. But Natalie didn't need that poison. "It's handled," I said. She bit her lip, nodded, and ended the call with a soft, "Love you." I opened my encrypted legal thread and forwarded the screenshot to Victor Kennedy. Subject, additional material, ongoing conduct. I added implication of cohabitation. Timestamp 2:04 p.m. Note the phrasing "we made it out" could be argued as informal admission of collusion and premeditated departure. Then I opened a box I hadn't touched in years. Inside was a ceramic angel ornament Carol bought at a Vermont farmer's market. She once said it was so tacky it's charming. I'd glued its wing back on the year she tried to hang it with fishing wire and it fell behind the tree. I dropped it into the trash, went back inside, and brewed coffee. The game wasn't rage, it wasn't grief. It was documentation, trail, pattern. Let her think she was finally breathing again. I was just making sure the air she walked into was mine. Carol used to brag that she was the spine of that office, not the face that was reserved for the VPs with veneers and forced laughter, but the spine. The one who made things run. The one who knew where the bodies were buried, she liked to say after her second glass of wine. Funny thing about spines, they snap quietly when the pressure hits just right. It was a Thursday when I pulled up the security footage. Our house had a modest Nest setup, just standard motion detecting cams in the entryway, kitchen, and living room. We'd installed them back when her purse was stolen from the carport, and she convinced herself the neighbors were casing us. She never considered they'd be casing her. The footage I needed was from 2 weeks ago, Friday night, 11 to 18 p.m. She'd been out for a surprise girls' night and came back with that unhinged giddiness you only get from 3 cocktails and a backseat confession. The front door opened. She stumbled in alone, heels in hand, laughing at something no one else could hear. Dropped her clutch, poured herself another splash of Pinot, and started talking, to herself, to the silence. Or maybe, deep down, to me. God, she said, spinning in a half circle before sitting on the arm of the couch. I used another sick day for that trip. If they only knew. Like HR's going to fire HR. Sip. Laugh. Whatever, they owe me. Boring-ass quarterly reviews and forced wellness check-ins. I earned that little getaway. Another sip. And Brian needed it too. His baby was so wound up. I watched it again, scrubbing back and forth. Timestamp. Words. Her voice. Clear. Drunk. Absolutely uncoerced. I clipped the segment, 11:17 to 11:21 p.m. Then opened my email to hr@corinthian-group.com. Subject, confidential employee conduct disclosure. No preamble, no accusations. Just the footage embedded and timestamped with a short message. As a concerned third party, I felt this material should be reviewed internally. It appears to fall under your stated code of ethics and time-off policy. Employee appears to be under the influence while admitting to misuse of paid sick leave for personal leisure and non-sanctioned travel. If previously documented, please disregard. Respectfully, SW. I hit send. An hour later, the auto-response change from your message has been received to simply thank you for reaching human resources. No name, no extension. Carol always claimed her team was a tight-knit circle. Apparently, that circle had just gotten a little tighter without her in it. Later that evening, I heard the ping of her phone upstairs. I hadn't turned off notifications. She still had access. She wouldn't check until morning, maybe not even then. But when she did, there'd be a missed call from her manager, or worse, silence. Because HR doesn't fire people with fireworks. They do it with phrases like pending review and internal realignment. I poured myself a whiskey, not to celebrate, not yet, just to mark the moment. The spine had cracked, and the body it had held was beginning to collapse. The Lexus slowed in the driveway like it didn't recognize the place. Carol sat behind the wheel, chewing gum or maybe just nerves, as if she could taste the shift in the air. The house hadn't changed, same shutters, same hedges she never once trimmed, but she looked at it like a stranger, and for once, the house looked back the same way. She pointed the garage remote, nothing. Tried again, held it up, waved it like a wand. Still nothing. That was her first clue. The second came when she shoved her key into the front door lock. It stopped halfway. No give, no click, just resistance. Her smile, the one she'd posted on Instagram from somewhere peaceful, faded. She spotted the envelope on the mat, taped shut with blue painter's tape. The kind I used for touch-ups, the kind she always said looked trashy. It wasn't trashy now, it was deliberate. She peeled it open slowly, glancing around like a drone might swoop down the moment she broke the seal. Inside, one typed page. Carol. This home is no longer your residence. Your name has been removed from associated deeds and household accounts, as permitted under the terms of the prenuptial agreement, which you reaffirmed in writing on September 10, 2016. Your belongings have been boxed. Delivery instructions will be sent through council. Do not attempt to enter the premises. Security footage has already been forwarded to legal in the event of dispute. Regards, Stephen. And at the bottom, handwritten, Bedroom closet, third shelf. Her face tightened. She clutched the envelope to her chest like it might rewrite itself if she held it long enough, then darted around the side of the house toward the back, toward the sliding door that sometimes stuck, the guest window that could be jimmied if you knew how. She got in. Of course she did. She always knew the cracks. Upstairs, she moved like a ghost, not pausing at framed photos, or the spot where she used to drop her purse and complain about her boss. She opened her side of the bedroom closet. Third shelf, one unsealed manila folder. Inside, a printed transcript of her bathroom video. He's so pathetic lately. This almost feels like mercy. Every word spaced, punctuated, dated. Next, her original signed prenup, the one she claimed she never read too closely. Clause 6 billions. Forfeiture of all claim to marital real estate or income if infidelity or intentional emotional misconduct could be documented. Her hands shook. Now she understood why the garage didn't open, why the key didn't turn, why no one had called. This wasn't a fight. It was done, prepped, packaged, served. She sat on the edge of the bed, her side, the indent still faint, and noticed what was missing. The wedding photo. Gone. Not shattered, not torn, just erased like a placeholder. She hadn't even asked if I'd moved it. She already knew the answer. Carol didn't drive straight to her sister's that night. She parked 2 blocks away like a teenager sneaking out, sat in the dark Lexus, and scrolled her phone with shaking fingers. Most people were quiet, no replies, no likes. Her last feeling-free post sat untouched, stale, glowing like a bad punchline. So she called Jenna, the soft one, the loyal one, the one who'd once said, "If anything ever goes down, you've got a room here." The phone rang 6 times. Then a flat voice, Carol. Not "Hey sis," not what happened, just her name. Carol cleared her throat. "Hey Jen. Things are a little crazy right now. I might need to crash at your place for a few days, just until Steven cools down or whatever." Silence. Then, he doesn't sound like the one who lost control. That landed like a slap. "Excuse me?" "We saw the post," Jenna said. "The one you deleted. With Brian. It was just a dumb quote. We also saw the clip." Carol went still. "What clip?" "You know which one. The one Steven emailed, of you in the bathroom laughing about taking sick days, calling him pathetic. He sent that to you?" "Not directly. It came through work, from HR. My friend sent it, said it was making the rounds. She didn't realize it was you until she saw the name on the folder." Carol stood without realizing it. The night air was cold, her knees weak. "You're spying on me now?" "No," Jenna replied. "You lied to us. That's not—" "You said Steven was cold, controlling, that he isolated you, that he didn't let you have anything for yourself, but you didn't mention the offshore account." Carol froze mid-step. "What?" "The one under your name. The one linked to his retirement distributions. The one you set up through that fake shell company, Carolyn B. Consulting." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was terminal. "I don't know what you're talking about," Carol said quietly. "Yes," Jenna said, voice hardening, "you do. And you didn't just lie to him. You used us to justify it." Then the worst part, the finality in Jenna's voice. "Don't come here, Carol. I don't trust you." Click. Carol stared at the glowing contact photo, a smiling beach pic from 3 summers ago. And all she could think was, the only person who knew about that account was Brian. The reservation was under his name, Steven Wexler, 700 hours p.m., one of those quiet, expensive restaurants with low lighting and real linen napkins, the kind Carol always claimed made her feel seen, like someone in a French film who never aged or paid bills. She showed up at 6:58 wearing her version of peacetime armor, hair done, makeup flawless, the navy dress I'd bought her for our 20th anniversary, the one she once said made her feel uncomfortably wifely. She wore it now like it could rewrite history. The hostess greeted her with a warm, neutral smile. "Right this way, ma'am." Carol followed, chin up, shoulders back, ready to spin it, ready to say I'd overreacted, that things got misunderstood, or to play victim. "I was lonely, Steven. You made me feel invisible." She was prepared for conflict. What she wasn't prepared for was absence. The private room was candlelit and eerily silent. No Steven. No table for 2. Just a small round table set for 3 and a TV monitor on a stand. Carol froze in the doorway. The hostess gave a polite nod and left. The door shut with a padded click. The monitor flickered to life, black screen, then date, timestamp, location tag. Living room, 11:18 p.m., 2 weeks ago. Her voice filled the room. He's so pathetic lately. This almost feels like mercy. Wink. And another clip. Kitchen, Tuesday, 6:47 p.m. Her on the phone? No, I told him I had a meeting. He still believes I'm mentoring the interns. Bathroom, restaurant, 9:53 p.m. The wink again. Then Brian's voice off camera at a bar. Your husband? He's just an old file cabinet. Stiff, slow, full of useless stuff nobody wants anymore. The screen went black, then white. Text appeared, slow and surgical. This material has been collected in accordance with Clause 6 billions of the marital prenuptial agreement. All parties involved in the presentation of this material have consented to its recording and submission as legal documentation. The undersigned hereby acknowledges receipt of the following disclosures. Carol finally noticed the two people seated at the table, both in business black, both with notary seals and open document folders, a fountain pen laid delicately across the top sheet. They didn't speak. They just waited. There was no chair for her, no menu. Just the scent of marinated lamb drifting in from the hallway and the realization that this wasn't dinner. It was a signature. Friday, 9:04 a.m. The office was quiet in that artificial way only glass buildings can be. Sterile smiles, clicky heels, the faint hum of an overworked Keurig. Carol had just settled into her ergonomic chair, clutching a triple-shot latte like it was her last friend on earth. Her badge still worked, her inbox still opened. She took that as a sign. She'd convinced herself the worst was over. Marriage dead? Fine, sister gone, whatever. She'd bounce back. HR women didn't get fired, they fired people. She was mid-scroll through a performance review draft when the elevator chimed. Two men stepped out, one in a dark gray suit with patent leather shoes, the other, older, slower, deliberate. Stephen. She froze. He didn't look at her, didn't blink. He saw a building, a transaction. He and his lawyer walked straight to the HR director's office. Mara, who was known for firing people in under 3 minutes flat, took the thick packet Stephen handed her without standing. Carol couldn't breathe. Stephen and the lawyer turned and walked past her cubicle. Not a glance, not a word. His silence louder than any courtroom closing. He was out the door in 27 seconds. By 10:11, her company login froze mid-keystroke. By 10:14, her access badge flashed red at the restroom entrance. At 10:36, an envelope slid onto her desk by an office assistant who wouldn't make eye contact. Inside, her final paycheck, stapled to a memo from legal. Termination processed per client complaint. CC file for supporting documentation. Her eyes flicked to the logo in the corner. Client, Threshold West Holdings. It didn't register until she remembered the Vermont property, the LLC. The one she'd called Stephen's fantasy retirement scheme. Principal owner, S. Wexler. She checked the ownership registry on her phone. A shell company, a consulting client. One that had quietly audited her company's HR processes the previous quarter. He hadn't just documented her. He'd become her employer's client. She hadn't been fired by her boss. She had been dismissed by her husband, her ex-husband. No confrontation, no spectacle. Just a legal complaint backed by evidence verified by third parties, attached to the corporate compliance manual she herself had helped revise last fiscal year. That folder Stephen handed over? Whistleblower report. Internal fraud documentation. Personal conduct breaches. She had helped write the policy that killed her. Carol sat, staring at the paycheck. A name she'd known for 30 years now appeared next to client's signature. Stephen. It was over, not loud, not messy, just finished.